Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I am Marcus Spar, and today I want to talk about something that is very near and dear to me, especially recently at the time of this recording, and that is what makes for a strong and healthy relationship. To give you a little bit of background, recently, at the time of this recording, my wife Libby and I celebrated our 14th wedding anniversary. And the day before, Libby was having thoughts that she had said or done something that had effectively ruined our marriage, and I was going to be walking out on her at any moment. And why did this happen? Because we were not communicating effectively with each other. I was not being honest, and I will be honest about that. I was not being honest in what I was experiencing, in what I was thinking, and what I was feeling. Part of that has to do with the struggles that we had last year in 2023 when Libby's mental health was not in a great place. And it's in a much better place these days. I was operating under the incorrect assumption that there were certain things that I could not express to her because it was going to trigger her anxiety. So I just kept quiet about a lot of things that were really bugging me. And it was starting to eat me up at this point. I had effectively regressed to times when I was in middle school and high school, when I felt unseen, I felt unheard, and I felt insecure, even in my own home. And how did I choose to handle this? Exactly the same way I did back then, when I was a teenager. And that was, I chose to suppress my emotions. Now, you'd think someone who has gone through this before, has done a lot of reading and work on his own mental health and his own emotional intelligence, would know that suppressing emotions is a terrible way to handle them. And I was not in the best mental state when I made that decision. The night before our anniversary, Libby and I were going to bed. She gave me the opportunity to talk about what was bothering me. And as much as I didn't want to, I knew that I needed to. And we talked about it. There were a lot of tears. She shared what she was experiencing. I shared what I was experiencing. We both have a much better understanding of what is going on in our brains. And there were things that I didn't know that Libby was dealing with. She didn't know a lot of what I was dealing with because I wasn't saying anything. And we talked for so long that we didn't get to bed until after midnight. Needless to say, our anniversary was better, albeit much more low-key because we were both exhausted. And we are in a much better place now. Our relationship is so much stronger now because of our vulnerability, because of our honesty, and our willingness to have a very challenging conversation that, in all reality, it needed to happen. So what makes for a strong relationship? We're not even just talking a romantic relationship. In my experience recently, I have this great example of what helped to make our relationship so much stronger. Yet, it's not just communication, not just honest and vulnerable communication. It's not a willingness to have the difficult conversations. There's a lot more to it than that. For us to have strong relationships, one of the things that I find incredibly important is you want to have fun. Whenever I get together with my two brothers, we will inevitably go into story time and talk about crazy things that we did as kids. And it just makes us laugh. Oh man, do we get together, and to a certain degree, we almost revert back to our old childhood selves, and we're just goofy. And we have a great time whenever the three of us are together. The relationships that I have that are the strongest right now are my relationships with Libby and with my D&D friends, Ben, Brandon, Katie, Dan, and John. The 7 of us have an incredible community. And I cherish the relationships that I have with each and every single one of them. Why? Because these are people that I see on a very regular basis. I see some of them as often as 4 times a week. Because there's... Gosh, now I gotta think now. There are 5 of us that will get together a couple of times a week in order to exercise and work out. And that is extra on top of when we get together to play our tabletop role-playing games. These are the people that when they have something really fun going on, they love to let us know about it and they invite us to it. My friend John, he is a teacher and he teaches drama and he teaches English, and he has a drama production at his high school, and I've gone to see some of those plays, and he is so proud of those kids. And it's also a really great experience for us to get out of our normal routine to experience. God, the last one we saw was Clue, and it was such a good play. And I got to spend time with my friend John and with Libby. A lot of times, my friend Dan is there as well. And we get to sit together, we get to talk about the play, we get to talk about the adventures that we're having in our gaming sessions. Or for these people, we're also talking about the games that we're playing online together on Mondays. You'll notice there's a lot of time that I'm spending with these people. Why? Because I have fun with them. And I love how there's so much that we have in common, and also how they continue to open my eyes to new experiences. I will joke around when I talk about these people that they almost kicked me out of our gaming group because I had not seen much of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I saw like 1 or 2 episodes, and I'm like, this really isn't for me. I'm just not getting into it. And they were like, no, you really need to give it a chance. So Libby and I, we got a subscription. I think they had it on Amazon at that time. And so we were just streaming and watching it. And it was really good once I got into it. I would not have had this experience if it wasn't for these people absolutely loving this intellectual property, talking about it, having inside references that I didn't understand, and now I'm in the know. And we just continue to open each other's eyes to new and fun experiences. So we play. We spend a lot of time together. When you find these people, they are going to be the individuals that you do want to spend a lot of time with. If you notice that, clue into that. There's a reason why you want to spend all of this time with these people. Coupling that with the story that I shared in the beginning, one of the things that makes a strong and healthy relationship is a willingness to be vulnerable with each other. These people, these friends, even Libby, some of my family that I will sometimes spend hours just talking with, we will get real with each other, and we will talk about our fears, we'll talk about our dreams, we'll talk about our hopes, our desires, we'll talk about what's getting us frustrated, we'll talk about what's bringing us joy. The more you are yourself in a relationship, the stronger that relationship will be. If the relationship is going to survive, I should caveat that. You can be real with someone and then they don't want to have anything to do with you. And if that's the case, great. You just found someone you can't go deep with. And that's good information to know. Maybe that's a friendship that just stays on the surface and it's superficial all the time. However, if you are real with someone and you go deep and you can express your emotions, you can show up to a brunch or a coffee date or, I don't know, a phone call, and you don't have to paint a smile on your face. You don't have to pretend like everything is going great. You can just be you and express and be with the myriad of emotions that we experience, and this other person will just let you do that. Then you have found someone that you can be vulnerable with, and that relationship is going to be strong. These strong relationships are also with individuals that will challenge us. Going back to the story of the night before mine and Libby's anniversary, I was challenged to be authentic and talk about some very difficult things. I didn't want to. I am much more of a passive individual. In fact, you might even go so far as to say I have a martyr complex. And that's not a good thing. I will tell you it's not a good thing. We don't need more martyrs in this world. We need more people who are willing to step into conflict and difficult situations, even if that means that a certain relationship or group is going to get their feathers ruffled because of it. They're going to get their hackles up. Being challenged and challenging others can help lead to a much stronger relationship. 2023 was a very challenging year for myself and for Libby. In fact, I would probably say it was more challenging for Libby than it was for me. And we made it through that challenging time. Some days it was just like pure survival. That was the best that we could do. And we made it through the other side for the most part. We're still doing some work. We made it through. We are stronger because of it. We are working through a very difficult season. And we are stronger for it. Our relationship is stronger. This can be very challenging. Especially if you're like me, who wants to avoid conflict. This is a very challenging notion, because that means we might have to rock the boat and see how strong of sea legs the other people in the boat have. Some people are going to fall out of the boat. We can do our best to pick them up and bring them back in if they want to. I know of some people who have gone through really difficult seasons, and the relationships were not able to survive. Some of that is out of your control. I know of individuals who have fought for marriages because they wanted to keep the relationship intact, and the other person just didn't care. That happens. It's unfortunate when that happens, but it does happen. For a relationship to be strong, it does require every person in the relationship to really be involved with and want the relationship to survive. And I would say one thing that is very important, coupling with everything that I've shared so far about what makes a strong relationship, going back to vulnerability, is people that you can trust are going to be individuals. They're going to be groups that you can be at ease in. If you are in a group of friends and you feel like that you're on guard all the time because you don't know what... I don't know why I always go with Joe or Joey. That's just like the first name that comes to my mind. Actually, technically this time it was Bob, but I was trying to come up with a different name and Joe came to mind. Let's say Ralph. Let's say you're with your group of friends and Ralph, and my apologies to anyone by the name Ralph, I'm not calling one person out individually here. But let's just say Ralph has a tendency to just make you bristle. You are on guard around Ralph because he will say things that will upset you. Sounds like you might need to engage in some healthy conflict. Or if you have an entire group of friends that you feel like you have to be on guard around, that might be more telling about the group and whether or not you belong there. It might be a sign that you need to find a different group of friends. I feel very safe around my friends. In fact, there are times when we get together to play games, and that is like the one time that I can really just be myself and relax and just enjoy this time that we have together. The strong relationships tend to be the relationships with individuals that you want to be around. They are the ones that make you feel safe. They're the ones that make you feel heard, that you are seen, that you're understood. And I know for a fact that I have these 6 friends that they make me feel that way. Most of the time. If earlier this week is any indicator, most of the time. And yet, the time of Libby and I having a really difficult conversation likely wouldn't have happened the way that it did if I didn't jump to conclusions and just assume that she couldn't handle what I had to say, what I was feeling, and what I was thinking. And instead, I gave her a voice in whether that was something that she could handle. One of the things that often happens in relationships, and I think in today's society where more communication is done via text than anything else, we have a really unfortunate penchant to take silence and fill in that void with the worst possible situation. I can't tell you how many times, just in my own life, I will send out a message, or sometimes I use Marco Polo and I will send out this video to someone and it goes unanswered for sometimes a week or more. That silence is deafening, and I begin to question, what did I say? What did I do? How did I piss this person off? What have I done that has destroyed this relationship? And that's not always the case. People get busy. I am notorious for this. If I receive a text message from someone and I'm busy in the middle of doing something and I'll be like, I'll get back to that later. Well, that later can be a good chunk of time before I actually remember. It's like, oh, shoot, I had this text message and I haven't replied yet. It's actually one of the things that I challenge with a lot of my clients. And that is, what's the evidence that what you are assuming about the friendship is true? So for me, if I send out a message, and sorry, Ben, I'm going to call you out on this one. I don't even know if Ben listens to this podcast or not. One of the things I've learned about my friend Ben is it is easier for me to call him in order to have a conversation, ask a question, things of that nature, because he can be a very busy guy. If I send him a text message, he will read it and he's like, okay, I need to think about this response before I get back to Marcus, and then he doesn't get back to me. Early on in our friendship, I kind of took that as I was upsetting him to a certain degree. With time and with some conversations, I learned, no, that's not the case. That is just the kind of person that he is. And you know what? I accept him for that. If I need an immediate answer to something, I don't send him a text. I give him a call. And on top of that, I get to have a nice conversation with my friend Ben. It's like a win-win in that regard. In my eyes, a strong relationship is a relationship that creates a space for vulnerability, for safety, for play, and is open to having healthy confrontation. Because if we don't have that confrontation, if Libby and I did not have that conversation, we probably would have had the worst anniversary we've had in 14 years of marriage. All because I wasn't being vulnerable. Because I was trying to avoid conflict. From my perspective, and bear in mind, this is all from my perspective. And when I sat down to record this, there's probably some thoughts that I had where it's like, oh, that'd be a good thing to talk about. But because I don't write them down, it's a good chance that I forgot some of these things. Which, I don't know, maybe that means I'll make more content about it down the road. We'll see. But strong relationships. I hope that you have them. I hope if you don't, that you can find them. Because they are so valuable. Having these places where you can be vulnerable, you feel safe, you are free to be yourself, and you can play, you can explore, you can be challenged, you can have your eyes open to new experiences. It is so worth it. And that's one of the things that I find very valuable about these friendships that I have. And again, I will never get tired of saying that my friends Libby and Ben and Brandon and Katie and Dan and John, they are the best friends that I've had. I wish it didn't take me for some over 20 years, for some over 30 years to find them. And I'm not so naive to think that these friendships are going to remain as they are till the end of time. What I will do, however, is I will enjoy the time that I have with these people, and I will continue to strengthen our relationships because these people are worth it. And I know deep down I'm worth it too, because they remind me of that every single time I am around them. And until next time, live strong for today. Thanks so much for watching or listening to this podcast. If you like what you're hearing, then give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. If you are interested in working with me, then take a look in the description where you can find my website or a link just to schedule a free 50-minute one-on-one call with me. Looking forward to talking with you soon.